Okay, so we start. Hello to all for this presentation on our strategy and approach of the digital grid. We will walk you through the challenges that people have when they have to manage large grid, walk you through what is the context, and then show you at the end, by illustration, what type of solutions we can propose and what benefits you can get from those solutions. And we'll try to find 5 minutes at the end for question and answers. We have 2 mics, so you can ask questions in Spanish and in English, and in your own language, we'll find a way to translate anyway. I'm Frédéric Gonmel. I'm in charge of what we call power system inside our energy management division, which drives our power approach. What we call power system is basically medium voltage, large grids, large users, and basically all our approach when we deliver together a system for a given customer. Inside this division, we specifically take care of all the customers who operate large grids, which can be distribution utilities, which can be transportation companies, which can be oil and gas customers. Obviously, that's what we look at in this division. So before I start and go into the detail of the presentation, I just want to introduce the landscape by showing you a movie that illustrates the challenges we are in front of us.
The world's appetite for electricity is growing, and energy markets are changing globally. As a massive migration to renewable energy gains momentum, many people are taking advantage of the change and embracing prosumer technologies. Meanwhile, with 24/7 availability becoming ever more critical, some businesses are exploring microgrids as a way to ensure reliable supply. Throughout the energy system, it's a whole new game, with huge potential on both sides of the meter. For energy consumers, communities, and companies, it's an opportunity to achieve better efficiency, reliability, sustainability, and resiliency. For electric distribution utilities, it means more complicated network management and challenges to existing models and processes. But these electricity companies can turn disruption into opportunity. In the future, they may even become facilitators and orchestrators of the new energy system. On both sides of the meter, going digital today is the key to success. EcoStruxure Grid unites both sides of the equation. It lets distribution utilities boost efficiency while engaging and managing the demand side. EcoStruxure Grid helps utilities leverage flexibility and resiliency and unlocks new approaches for commercial, industrial, and corporate electricity consumers, like microgrids and energy as a service. With its digital architectures and services, EcoStruxure Grid bridges the gap between the supply and demand sides, providing a system-wide perspective. And because reliability of electricity supply and data integrity are key, it helps protect against cyber attacks by mitigating cyber risk, allowing sustained operational confidence. With EcoStruxure Grid, distribution utilities and energy prosumers can lead the way and take control of the new world of energy.
Okay, so this was an introduction of the topic we will go into with practical example. But before that, I want to step back and look at what will happen on the electricity world. So some of you may have attended yesterday Jean-Pascal Tricoire's presentation, but I want to come back on a few of the drivers that we see in front of us. If you look on this graph, you see here that electricity is today a small part of the energy consumption. Small but increasing, right? You see here that on around 100,000 terawatt-hour, electricity represents 20% roughly. That's where we stand, right? And we see here 2 projections made by independent bodies and by one oil and gas company around the growth of energy consumption in the world, with a scenario which is extremely aggressive, which is a 2-degree heating scenario, right? So it can go above, but basically if we want to meet the challenges that we have to cope with less CO2 emission, we have to go for obviously efficiency and so on. And even if we do that, the amount of energy that will consume in the world will be in the range of plus 20 to plus 40%. That's what we see as an amount of energy. Now, if we do that, we will have to change the mix of energy here. And basically what we said yesterday is that if we want absolutely to drive a reduction of CO2 emission, we will have to increase the use of electricity into the mix of energies that we have. That's why all the projections are showing a doubling of the electricity consumption in an horizon that is 20 years from now. Okay, so doubling of the electricity consumption in 20 years, right? Which is the equivalent of all what we did in the previous century. Okay, so extremely significant. If we don't do that, we will not be able to meet the CO2 challenge and then to go for a scenario which is a 2 degree or 1.5 degree scenario. We will be out of the curves, right? And you see here that all the people who are looking at that seriously are converging on a scenario where electricity will take a bigger share of what it is today. The second thing, obviously, is the future of electricity. Why we pledge for more part of electricity? Because basically a big part of this energy will be coming from renewable and solars. Right, solars and winds, basically. So you see on this graph, which is as well a projection from independent body, that a big part of the energy mix of tomorrow will come from sources of energy that are completely sustainable, renewable, and that can be decentralized, which makes a big change in the way the energy will be distributed, consumed and produced around our network. And you will see what it generates as challenges for all of us, both technology providers, both distribution companies, both producers and both consumers. So you see here that is a dramatic change. Today we don't measure it, right? We're there. That means the part of renewables that is concretely today on the network is pretty small. Okay, now look at the curve and look at 2040, which is an horizon in which we will have to manage a mix of energy which is very different with what we manage today. Very different. Now let's go to the last piece of the equation of this new energy transition, which is the user. The user will not be a user anymore. It will be a producer and a user, right? And they want absolutely to work on their energy access. They want it to be affordable. You start to see in many countries where the electricity price is high that there is a gameplay for people who want a lower price of energy, right? So this is starting there, and obviously people are now more demanding in terms of a lower energy price. The second thing that we believe is a constant is energy reliability, right? It's not there in all countries. But we see today that there are parts of the world where energy is really reliable, and we believe that people will never accept that energy become less reliable than what it is today. The third part is obviously that those people who will be producer and consumer, they will want to play on their energy mix. They will want to favor a supply of energy that come as much as they can from renewable, either because they have made a choice to invest in renewable, either because as companies, they have taken commitment to contribute to a reduction of the CO2 emission, like we did in Schneider, and like you saw, a few large companies have taken strong commitment in helping to reach a CO2 emission. So basically, we consider that electricity in all this direction is playing a key role because it's extremely flexible. You can switch source very easily. You can offload things very fast. So electricity is a good way to cope with the energy equation. The point is, with all that, it generates complexity. right? And think that when I go and visit customers, the big discussion we have with distribution utilities is around complexity, right? Is around the fact that those integration of renewable, those irruption of prosumer, where today the legislation is not really helping or giving a frame for prosumer to interact with utilities, all people are saying, well, we have in front of us a huge complexity. We have in front of us an environment that basically can be frightening, but which is an environment in which people are looking at it in terms of complexity. One point that we are looking at is that the decisions that people are taking now in terms of investments are there for the next 10 to 20 years. So basically what we are working on is making sure that the technology we provide today will have the flexibility to work on the equation of 2040, right? So when people are today choosing to invest in whatever technology, we absolutely need to make sure that those technology will be able to be flexible enough so that they will be able to integrate the complexities that will happen. Just to give you an example, I was saying that today there is no real legislation in many countries for prosumer interacting with with distribution utilities. I believe that in 10 or 15 years from now, there will be legislation that allow people to exchange. We need to make sure that when our customers are today investing in technology, they will be able, with the same technology, in 10 years from now, to manage those exchanges. So basically there is a word which is complexity, but we believe there can be solutions to these complexities. What we think as well is in all this equation, there is a huge opportunity. And there is opportunity on both sides. There is opportunity for people who are supplying energy because you can move to the same supply of energy with far less cost, operating cost, right? So there is basically today a level of cost to supply an amount of energy that has dramatically decreased. And it will keep going on. We still have some components like batteries and so on that will become extremely affordable in an horizon of 10 or 15 years. The second point is that there are absolute opportunity for people who are beyond the meter, right? As I explained, they can find better sources of energy, they can put competition, they can produce themselves, they can decide to offload from the grid if they want, right? So new choices that are eventually complex, but that are opportunities as well for people who are on both sides of the meters. So the way to win or the way to take benefits of this new world is basically to digitize, right? Energy was a world that was extremely traditional. Extremely traditional, you had generation, transmission, distribution, and users. This was the world, right? You can go into the world of tomorrow, which will be you produce locally, you can buy and sell energy, you can distribute energy from various sources, you can pacify a grid that inject renewable where suddenly the injection is decreasing. You can do all that. It's feasible with proven solution. All those solutions are requiring digital investment. If you don't invest in digital, you will not be able to cope with the complexities that I explained. I see today in some countries, there are solar farms ready that cannot connect to the grid because the grid is not necessarily ready to welcome them, right? We have a bunch of users that would like to go along together and eventually offer solutions to utilities to offload a part of the demand. Those solutions today are completely achievable with digital. They eventually are not feasible because people are not ready to receive data and exchange data. So the battle of tomorrow is not anymore a battle in investing in physical architecture. Meanwhile, in some countries, we will keep investing in architecture because there is more demand of power. But the battle of tomorrow is to invest in digital solutions that will mirror the grid and that will become a digital platform of exchanging data in the same way that we exchange electrons today. So, if you put yourself in the shoes, and maybe some of you are are part of what we call electricity company. What we call electricity company is generation, distribution, and even people who are producing locally. What basically role you can play in all this story? You saw yesterday that efficiency in building and industry will represent 30% of the CO2 reduction. 70% will be by managing a world that is more electric with more renewable. Electricity company at the heart of this transition. So if electricity companies are not playing a significant pledge on reducing CO2 emission, basically we will not reach the challenge. The first thing on which people can play is obviously a greener generation, right? More integration of renewable, and as well with that being able to not start additional peak capacity by a better offloading on less critical load. This is accessible today. I will show you example of things that some utilities have done that allow them to not start peak generation and shed peak. The second thing that we have made accessible in all our journey to do our part of reducing CO2 emission has been to give accessible, and that's what we have presented today, to technology which are without SF6, right? You can say, well, this is not digital, and I agree it is not digital, right? But we present a new generation of medium voltage switches and breakers without SF6 today, and we will deploy technologies that are without SF6 in the future. And you know that SF6 is not great in terms of CO2 impact, right? Equivalent CO2 impact. The third area on which we can play a very active role together is efficiency. And efficiency can be translated in efficiency of the network, in efficiency of the workforce. You all travel in many countries, I guess. You look at the number of people on the road that come from electricity companies, in the large sense of it. It is many cars on the road that today could do less travel if we had more digital, because people would not necessarily need to travel to act on a given part of the network. And obviously with technology, we can reduce electrical losses, and we have proven solutions that today contribute to reduce electrical losses. So you see here how electricity company, wherever they are in the chain, can be a determining contributor to helping the world to reduce CO2. I will give a few now example, very practical example of companies who have implemented solutions. So what I'm speaking here is not something for 10 years. It's something that is operating today and that works. And the return of experience is the return of experience said by the customer, not said by Schneider, right? So let's look at the first example, which is Enel, a large company, extremely active, by the way, in playing a role in curbing CO2 emission. I guess all of you know, they implemented one of our key offers a few years ago called ADMS, Advanced DMS, that they put on their network. And thanks to this offer, that is now completely operational everywhere, they have saved an extremely significant amount of energy simply by reducing their level of losses and better balancing their network. Huge amount of CO2 saving in this precise example, right? The second thing that they tell us is thanks to this solution, their way to integrate renewable has been much faster. So you see here a figure which is energy saving, but as well there is workforce savings by integrating faster renewable into their network. So it helps them to contribute into the energy challenge. I go for another example, which is a bit similar. And I apologize, it's in Italy again, but we had basically some good voice of customer here. We started with implementing a combination of an ADMS, which is a central distribution management system, the same as the one you've seen in Enel, with a local controller into the secondary substation, right? So here, their objective, was to go faster on reducing their SAIDI, right? And here they have really improved a lot in terms of SAIDI reduction. 10% is extremely significant by combining a central system plus a secondary substation digital system with a huge and tangible result in terms of recovery of their customer. And the second point, like Enel, is they insisted on the fact that they are now ready to integrate renewable into their network. So that is a second example that we can give. Now I go in the north of Europe to a third customer, which is E.ON in Sweden, right? And here, their point was really to get rid of SF6. So what you have seen on the booth, most probably, you have seen that we have come with SF6-free solution. This one is today operated on their substation. Since April, we have put in place a secondary substation with switches, which is entirely SF6-free, working for the satisfaction of their customer. And we instrumented this substation to make it green and digital, right? So we combine that with our PowerLogic EtherG T300 so that basically they could remote control and control this substation. It has been our first pilot project with SF6-free, and today the return of experience gives us a full confidence that we have the same performance as what we had with previous technology. So basically one customer that is extremely happy. I want to go a bit deeper into SF6-free because it has been a key innovation topic and it's probably one of the biggest innovations that we will have in the world of medium voltage. You know that medium voltage is not an area that is carrying a lot of innovation, as we can see it, right? But here we come with something that is really new, and we have a proven solution now on all our medium voltage ranges to replace SF6 by air and vacuum, right? So those solutions will be cost effective because we don't need to put a breaker when you need a switch. So we have a switch that is with air and vacuum. Obviously sustainable, no SF6, better for the environment. And plug and play, that means in the same dimensions that our previous generation of products. So we will be able to offer to our customer a replacement of SF6 solution by SF6-free solution in the same dimensions. So it's a great innovation. Our teams work 10 years on finding a solution that is cost affordable in the same dimension without any gas. So that was a few examples of utilities who are walking the talk and going along, integrating of solution with digital, and so that they can go along a greener world, right? Now let's look at Schneider as it is today. In Schneider, we have the chance to have a very solid position in medium voltage and a very solid position in low voltage. And we decided to use those positions to be able to look at the challenges of integrating distribution of energy and consumption of energy. And that's where we have put all our effort in digital so that we offer solutions that are looking at, obviously, the process of the customers that use it, but as always offering a possibility to connect with the low voltage side, right? Obviously, when you are in a distribution utility, medium voltage is the heart of what you do, right? But low voltage is an important part of what you need to do and you need to monitor because a big part of your network is in low voltage today. And if you want to start to exchange with people who are beyond the meter, without going beyond the meter, you need to understand how you will exchange information. You need to understand, for example, if somebody has a microgrid, how we will operate and exchange information with you. So we are combining today our know-how of the demand side and our know-how of the supply side to offer solutions that we consider digitally are extremely differentiated from what basically we do. All of those solutions are for one specific segment. So we have digital solution for distributed generation. We even had for conventional generation, obviously, but we develop a lot of things for distributed generation. We have obviously solution for grid management, and I will explain some of them or illustrate some of them. And we have solutions for consumer and prosumer. Right? For example, you want to operate a microgrid, we have a digital solution that allows you to operate your microgrid and will allow you in future to exchange data with whatever distribution utilities you want to exchange data. So we have called all this approach EcoStruxure for electricity companies, right? So basically, what is EcoStruxure for electricity companies? It is a combination of EcoStruxure Power and EcoStruxure Grid. And we have a set of solutions for verticals, right? So you see here the way we present our digital solution. It always starts by a layer of connected products. And you have got some example with our famous T300, with protection relays, with our new generation of SF6-free products. All those products come with digital features. One thing I want to add, in those new generation of products, we have now sensors. That means inside the product, inside the tank, you have sensors where you can capture data, and you don't need to invest in capturing data day one. You install it, you will capture data in 5 years from now by installing the right control system and so on. On top of it, you have what we have called the edge control, which basically is a local level control, right? Or can be at a level of a district, and in which we control the operations. A few examples, you can, for example, have a DCS that control a hydro plant, or eventually a solar farm or a wind farm. You can have, obviously, a SCADA that control a grid. You can have power monitoring that control a part of your grid. And you can have a microgrid operation controller that control your microgrid with solar panel, with batteries, and the things you need to put on your microgrid to make it work. And on top of it, this is the layer where we have a pure software layer based on analytics, based on simulation. So you see here that we have a full-fledged offer that can go for simulation, design, that can simulate the behavior of a large grid, which is what an ADMS is doing, or that can basically give you advice on your microgrid, predict the future, send forecast of consumption to your partner, and so on and so on. All this third layer is ready when you get the value and the analytics. I want to insist on a few new things, and I could have been much longer, but I cannot display everything. And you have basically our booth when you can see live demonstration. A few things I want to speak of. We are now partnering a lot with a company called Aveva. They are basically in software, very useful for power generation, for example. And those software are here, for example, to help you to engineer, to plan, to make a digital twin of your process, or to have asset management, predictive asset management, mostly for power generation company. Obviously, looking at grid, I already insisted of the new things we have in the domain of Isergy and in the domain of PowerLogic, the set series of products that are SF6-free, a new SCADA, and on top of it, an ADMS with now a DERMS, which is a function to manage distributed energy management. So we are able to offer to a utility today a set of tools that will help them to manage distributed energy in the coming 10 to 15 years, whatever will be the format of exchange of data. And we have example in our booth of the way the DERMS is working in a close integration with our ADMS. And I spoke about it, but you basically have all our microgrid suite with microgrid controller and microgrid advisor, which allows you to operate your grid and same, exchange data with the other. Why? Because in this world of tomorrow, you will not be able to close. You will have to open data and get values by exchanging data with the other. And here, those systems are allowing you to exchange data with the other in complete open protocol, so that if the other is a completely different party, you will be able to do it. I am done in terms of explaining you where we are today, more in our booth, and I strongly encourage you to look at the solutions we have with practical example. We are in front of a big transformation, which is today not really there. It's starting, but it's not really there, right? But if you look in an horizon for 10, 15 years, it will be a completely different world, and it will be a completely different grid than the grid we know today. The physical part may not change much. The digital part will change a lot. So we believe that basically for all of you, we want to go with you as a technology partner to accompany you in this transition. I'm done. We have a few minutes left, so I'm absolutely open to take questions if there are.
Thank you, Frederick. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Frederick. Very interesting. Just on the edge control, is that going to be, or what's your view on the vehicle to grid, and how would you be able to monitor and control or interface with that, especially at the edge control?
So basically the vehicle to grid will have two impacts, right? It will be a huge consumer of electricity, first point, right? It may change the architecture at the distribution level. We even see now some companies that start to act as aggregator, right? In which they will aggregate some supply, and then it will have batteries, okay? So probably it can be used as an alternative source of balancing the grid, okay? Today, I have not seen, I don't travel everywhere, right? But I travel a lot. I have not seen a place where this model is taking place in a large scale, right? I have seen some startup experiments and so on. But basically, if you look the fact that we could have in some country millions of vehicles that could be connected to the grid and that we could use as a source of flexibility, it probably can play a role in balancing between solars and electrical vehicles. Now, in terms of model, I've not seen it. The first thing we start to see today is the peak of consumption when, if you have a large penetration of electrical vehicle, you see the peak of consumption at 6 p.m. when people are back home, right? So you see the peak. This, we have utilities who have clearly demonstrated this peak and who have started to find solutions to shave the peak, right? That's the way we see it. We see some companies that are trying to offer a complete network of supply of energy, right? These are things that we see as business model and on which we have solution today. I believe in the future, the edge level will be very close to our microgrid advisor, because basically it's a big consumption, is a potential shaving of peak, right? So it will operate like a microgrid advisor, obviously with a bit of specific algorithm so that people can parameter what they want to do with their electric vehicle. But I would consider it as something that is very close to our microgrid advisor as of today. So I believe our solution is suitable, probably needs a bit fine-tuning, but I don't see a revolution here. Now the revolution could be if there would be exchange with utilities to use those park of batteries. Today, I mean, in an horizon of, let's say, 2-3 years, I don't see that happening, to be honest. Does it answer your question? Other?
English? Spanish?
Thank you for the presentation.
Me, yes, I can hear.
Okay. I was wondering what is your point of view now the generation of electricity is centralized. In 20-30 years will be distributed.
Mm-hmm.
So from the business perspective and regulation perspective, what is the difference between disintermediation of all the generation model when you have a lot of microgrid interconnected all together in a distributed, let me say, grid?
I guess I capture the question. What I think will change today, basically, a grid is controlled centrally. right? Because the majority is still a central generation, right? What I believe will happen over the time is that distribution utility, probably at a regional level, will take a higher role in terms of control and balancing of the grid, right? They will do that with datas. The only way to do it is basically to take control of datas at a level that is the level of a region, most probably. Maybe a city, if really the penetration of renewable is extremely fast at the level of a city, with a few constraints, however, because the density of the city does not make it so easy to integrate renewable. I still believe that, that basically the center point of balancing that will move from something that is fairly central today with something that will be much more regional tomorrow, still with interconnection between regions, obviously, but there will be a new level of data exchange and data management on which I am pledging since years that distribution utility take a leading role, because I don't see other players that could take this role. They already have the grid, they probably already have a lot of data, they use, they don't use. They start to be a point where things are concentrating, so probably they can generate a service with still their obligation of service and so on, but they could generate a kind of service of exchanging data of energy between renewable, local users and so on. That's the way I see it moving. It will not move overnight. The point is that obviously to be able to do that, there is significant investment in digital, first to capture data, and second to build a layer on which you put these data on a single format where people can exchange. So here the legislation has a lot to evolve in this regard, and today I consider overall the world is late, I would say. The legislation have to move faster. But now, let's be clear, if you want to curb the CO2 emission, there is no other way. Or I don't see another viable way with the technologies we have today.
English? Yeah.
Disculpa, tú hablaste recién de regiones, de áreas y de hacer... ¿Me estás escuchando? Te decía que tú recién hablaste de regiones, de áreas y de intercambio de energía entre esas regiones y esas áreas. Y el intercambio digital, el intercambio de datos. ¿Cómo ves la medición y cómo ves el pricing de eso, el ponerle precio? Porque se van a generar nodos y mallas con distintos valores.
I don't think I can answer your question, right? Our role is to provide technology to help exchange of data, basically. We work, obviously, and we exchange with bodies, right? And we pledge for making this business possible, because I believe it's important to help the integration of renewable at a local level, right? But our job is not to define a pricing policy. I believe here it has to be done between utilities that play a key role in a given country, between government bodies of the countries. I see attempts in some countries of legislation to help, at least to smooth the peak and so on. And there is a pricing policy around that you can look in some countries, right? Our job is not to influence, okay? Obviously, what we believe is that if this business become accessible to prosumer and to utilities, it will favor the integration of renewable on the long term. And here we think is good for the planet. But our job is not to make a pricing policy. We just supply technology and we try to do it well, and is enough occupation for us. Thanks a lot. I believe we are out of time. Thank you a lot. It has been a pleasure.